Will Levis might have more arm talent than any other quarterback in the 2023 draft class. And this first throw is legitimately one of the most insane throws I've ever seen. So he's going to slide out to his left away from interior pressure. And off platform, he's going to throw a bomb 50 plus air yards and drop it right on the bucket to the field for what should have been a touchdown. And on this next play, you're going to see his ability to drive the football into really tight windows. That elite velocity, the ball just kind of pops out of his hands. You see that here. And on this next play, you'll see his ability to throw with touch. You saw the velocity, you saw the off platform, but on this one, he uncorks this one about 45 air yards and drops it right in the bucket for what should have been caught for a big gain, but was also dropped. My favorite trait of Will Levis's, other than the arm talent, is probably his ability to throw into the middle of the field with anticipation and velocity. In this first play, he's going to read the linebacker, see him drift out towards the flat, and buy time in the pocket, slide away from pressure, keep his eyes downfield, and exploit that window on this dig. This is a much better example of him throwing with anticipation, where he is not throwing to the receiver but to a spot on the field. He's throwing an open space. The ball's out before his tight end even clears the linebacker, and he hits him right in the money for what ends up in a touchdown. The second play is also a good example of that, where he's not throwing to his target. He's throwing an open space in the hole between the two middle of the field defenders. This ball's out before he's even open. As soon as he comes open, the ball hits him. The last trait I want to talk about for Levis that I really love is his toughness, both as a runner and a pocket passer. He's a good athlete. He's got good escape ability, but he never shies away from contact down the field. And a play like that's a great example. And this play is going to hang in the pocket versus interior pressure and deliver a good ball underneath. And this final play is also a good example of the anticipation I was talking about prior. And you also see his toughness in the pocket, where his right tackle gets beat inside fairly quickly. He's going to hang in the pocket because he knows this dig is going to come open, get the ball out, take a hit, right on the money. The first issue I want to talk about concerning Levis's game is some of his footwork and his underneath accuracy. On this first play, his first hip's locked, meaning he doesn't get his ankle open, so his hips can naturally kind of follow through towards the line of scrimmage to finish square. So he locks his front hip out. He can't follow through, meaning he can't lead his receiver to the flat, to the front pylon to where it'd be an easy touchdown. Instead, he leaves it inside and it's intercepted. On the second play, another footwork issue where against no pressure, he's just retreating backwards in the pocket, fading away, and dirts this throw to the flat. Now, possibly the biggest issue I have with Levis as a prospect is his tendency to drop his eyes versus pressure or perceived pressure. In this first play, it's relatively good protection. You do have a defensive end versus a running back in pass pro, so that's not a favorable matchup. So I understand his internal clock being sped up, but if you freeze frame here, the middle of the field is vacant. You have two receivers coming open in the middle of the field, and you have another target breaking outside underneath. Instead of getting the ball out and throwing with that anticipation I mentioned earlier, despite the edge defender being multiple yards away, he kind of dips his front shoulder, tries to evade pressure, and ends up scrambling for minimal gain when he had three viable targets open. Similar thing on this next play. Ole Miss is going to bring a blitz. The middle of the field is vacant, and you have the boundary receiver coming in wide open underneath. And instead of simply making this throw, he drops his eyes under the threat of pressure, tries to spin away, and takes a sack. On this play, 3rd and 7, Miami's going to bring a blitz. Instead of getting his ball out hot to a slot target who beats his man, he holds the ball, tries to spin away from a sack, gets sacked anyway. This last play is also a pretty egregious example. So Kentucky's going to run some pre-snap motion. They get a pretty obvious man tail with the guy tracking him across the formation. So you know you're getting man coverage. And this tight end gets wide open on this pivot route. He's completely open. But instead of pulling the trigger, Levis drops his eyes, drops the ball, scrambles into a sack. Another really troubling aspect of his game is his hesitancy and his questionable field vision. On this first play, Northern Illinois is just going to bring a blitz. And instead of just getting the ball out, he hitches, throws late, throws behind, throws an interception. On this play, so Florida's safeties are going to expand post-snap, leaving the middle of the field, the deep middle of the field, completely vacant. And his slot receiver is going to run clean up the seam, get completely open. I mean, that should be a touchdown. But instead, he opts to throw into triple coverage underneath for an incompletion. On this play, off the play fake, the tight end is going to get wide open on this corner route. And instead of just coming off the play fake, getting his feet set, and getting the ball out, he hesitates, retreats, throws late and off his back foot for an incompletion. On this play, they're going to run a quick underneath passing game concept. He's going to look field initially, come back to the boundary, and instead of getting his ball out quick on this out route in rhythm, he hesitates for some reason, retreats, scrambles, throw away. On this last play, and this is probably the most head scratching to me, he comes off the boot action to his right, and the comeback to the boundary is wide open. You're talking multiple yards of separation. I cannot fathom why he didn't make this throw, but he doesn't. Instead, he scrambles for a minimal gain. And the last concern I have with this game is, despite him having this big cannon of an arm, there are some inconsistencies in his deep ball accuracy. And these two plays are a good example where too often he would just force his targets to break stride and work back to the football instead of leading them downfield. From this play, it's from a clean pocket. He just undershoots this go ball. Even though his guy's got a step, he forces him to break his stride, and this could have been an interception. So, I understand why people are infatuated with Levis. He's got the ideal size. He's got elite arm talent. He's a good athlete, and he's as tough as they come. But I think those traits sometimes blind people from the issues with his game. His poor feel and composure in the pocket are huge concerns for me. The inconsistency in his lower body mechanics also give me pretty big Baker Mayfield vibes. And there are far too many plays on tape where I'm simply left questioning or just completely confused as to what he saw on the field. And when you combine these concerns, these questions, with the fact that he is 24 years old, well, he's not 24 right now. When he takes his first NFL snap, he'll be 24. That's why I'm much lower on Levis than the consensus is. And if I'm being frank, I simply don't view him as a potential franchise quarterback or even as a high-end quality starter. And I personally wouldn't touch him in the first round. I think he's a second to third round level prospect.